Okay, so in this video, we have Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass losing their mind after what the vice president had to say in his press conference earlier today in Los Angeles. And we also have an update from President Trump as it relates to Israel and Iran. And so we're going to show you both of these stories, show you what both sides are saying, and then give you the bottom line. Let's start here.
Lawmakers who keep getting handcuffed. The New York Times just did a story. They keep getting handcuffed, suggesting that the Trump administration is cracking down on Democrats. Can you comment on that?
Well, I was hoping Jose Padilla would be here to ask a question, but unfortunately, I guess he decided not to show up because there wasn't the theater. And that's all it is. You know, I think everybody realizes that's what this is. It's pure political theater. These guys show up. They want to be captured on camera doing something. They want to be able to go back to their far left groups and to say, look, me, I stood up against border enforcement. I stood up against Donald Trump, when all they're really standing up for is for drug cartels to run rampant over our country and sex traffickers to be able to continue to traffic little kids into our country. That's what you're doing when you stand against border enforcement. So I think these guys, we ought to laugh them out of the building. We ought to call them out for doing what they're doing, which is grandstanding. And if they want to work seriously on border enforcement and on keeping their communities safe, the Trump administration's door is wide open. But they're not doing that. They'd love the grandstanding. They hate law enforcement because they hate the idea of the United States of America having a border. It's a disgrace, but it is what it is.
All right, so bottom line up front, JD Vance was visiting Los Angeles. He was giving a press conference. He was talking about multitude of things from Israel, Iran, to immigration, border security, and the incompetence of the mayor and the governor. So during that, he was answering questions. He called Senator Alex Padilla Jose. The left is claiming that now JD Vance is all of a sudden a racist. The governor is losing his mind, as you guys can see here on the screen. He screenshotted this video from JD Vance when he was running for Senate. It's titled, "Are You a Racist?" Now, I don't know where the governor was going with that. However, the governor did create a video for JD Vance, and this is how unhinged Newsom can be. Pay attention to this video. This is before JD Vance arrived.
Mr. Vice President, we read that you're coming into California, which is important. It's been months now since some of the most devastating wildfires in U.S. history occurred. Tens of thousands of lives completely torn asunder. I hope you have an opportunity to spend some quality time with some of the victims, of the families of the Palisades, and also spend some time in Altadena, which is incredibly important. It's also important as well, and I honestly mean this, that you sit down with the President of the United States, who just a couple days ago suggested that these American citizens may not get the support that other citizens get all across this country in terms of disaster relief. I hope we get that back on track. We're counting on you, Mr. Vice President.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but I definitely don't buy anything that he's saying. He doesn't even sound genuine. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. This is an effort to poke at the president, because I believe President Trump lives in his mind 24/7, because that's all he talks about. That's all they're doing on social media. If you pay attention, they react to every single post from the White House. So you know where their attention is at right now. Now, he did say this after what JD Vance had said. He said, "Hey, Vice President, nice of you to finally make it out to California. Since you're so eager to talk about me, how about saying it to my face? Let's debate time and place." And of course, nobody's buying this tough act from the governor. We know that. Now, here is the mayor. She actually held a press conference and she wanted to respond directly to the vice president. Here's what she said.
Mr. Vice President, how dare you disrespect our senator? You don't know his name, but yet you served with him before you were vice president, and you continue to serve with him today, because the last time I checked, the Vice President of the United States is the President of the U.S. Senate. You serve with him today, and how dare you disrespect him and call him Jose? But I guess he just looked like anybody to you. Well, he's not just anybody to us. He is our senator.
Okay, so there's just a few things. Number one, I don't know about you, but when you think about the women that are on the left who are the loudest and they get the most attention, their voices are annoying. Think Kamala Harris, think Mayor Karen Bass, think AOC, think Jasmine Crockett. I mean, I could not stand to be in a room with them when they're complaining about something. And I'm just being fair here. That might be divisive, but I'm just being honest. All right, that's number one. Number two, who cares about the outrage from Mayor Karen Bass? Because she's capitalizing on this politically. Let's get real. She held a press conference right after the vice president said what he said. So no shocker there. And then finally, the spokesperson for Vice President J.D. Vance did respond because the governor said, hey, that was no accident that he said Jose Padilla. Well, Jose Padilla happens to be a convicted al-Qaeda terrorism plotter during President George W. Bush's administration. And the spokesperson said this, quote, he must have mixed up two people who have broken the law, end quote. All right, so let's get back to what the vice president had to say at that press conference. Take a look.
What happened here was a tragedy. You had people who were doing the simple job of enforcing the law, and they had rioters egged on by the governor and the mayor, making it harder for them to do their job. That is disgraceful. And it is why the president has responded so forcefully what happened in Los Angeles. Number one, because we've got to enforce our borders and get so many of these criminals out of our country to begin with. And number two, when you have violent agitators who make it impossible for the law enforcement to do their job, it is necessary to protect them and to defend them. We have to remember that the Friday that the riots started, before there was ever a single National Guardsman, before the President of the United States had sent in additional federal resources, you had law enforcement officers who were being captured and beaten by violent mobs egged on by Gavin Newsom and other officials.
Okay, so this begs the question, why did the vice president visit Los Angeles today? For what reason exactly? We know this issue is kind of over already. It peaked last week, and an appeals court ruled today that President Trump was correct in deploying the National Guard, and he has the authority to do so. So why now? Well, I'm of the opinion that the strategy that the White House is deploying is an aggressive one. Whatever that strategy might be as far as the details, the overarching message here is they're going to put their foot on the gas and not let up here. So they're going to continue to hammer people like Gavin Newsom, Mayor Karen Bass, these issues as it relates to immigration, because that is where they are the strongest. That's just how I see it. Now, let's hear what CNN had to say and how they see this. Take a look.
One thing that I will say about J.D. Vance's visit that I thought was very interesting is that we aren't talking about Los Angeles anymore. The country has sort of shifted. And J.D. Vance is there to bring it back into the news. Presidents and vice presidents normally go to places of crisis in order to take down the temperature. We saw that with Barack Obama when Trayvon Martin was shot. He spoke out about it. You saw Eric Holder go down there too. You see senior administration officials go down there to kind of bring down the temperature in communities when there is chaos. It seems like this administration is trying to do the opposite. Instead of meeting with law enforcement here in Washington, D.C., getting regular updates from the FBI, as I'm sure that they're doing, he's going to Los Angeles to make a point. And it could further inflame protests and other people speaking out. And so I thought it was a very interesting move, especially at a time when the American people don't want chaos. Polling shows that they want an administration to have a fair immigration system.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Democrats still want you to panic about DOJ having access to your personal data. But let's be real. It's not the government you should be worried about. It's the professional hackers who have already stolen millions of identities and are weaponizing it. That's why I use Aura, a full security system for my digital life. VPN, credit monitoring, identity theft protection, and parental controls all in one. That's why when I signed up, I found my info, full name, email, even parts of my social security number already on the dark web. And Aura didn't just flag it, but they removed it. And that's why I've got 24/7 monitoring, fewer spam calls, and real-time alerts on my bank accounts. Whether you're trying to stay anonymous or just protect what's yours, Aura has your back. So just go to aura.com/Savory for a 14-day free trial and take back your digital freedom today. So in our last point there, my question would be this: how can we have a fair immigration system if ICE officials are not allowed to do their job? I mean, why are we going to let people who cross the border illegally, who jump the line, not be subjected to the same standards that people who were waiting in line for many, many years? That's the disconnect from people on the left. They can't answer that question. Okay. Now let's hear from the president, because before he took off to New Jersey, he had some comments for Gavin Newsom as well. Take a look.
We had a big victory last night in the Court of Appeals with respect to Los Angeles, but really the country, where Gavin Newsom, who's really an incompetent governor, he's just doing a terrible job between his fires, between all the houses burning down, his forest fires, and now Los Angeles. If we didn't go to Los Angeles, and the sheriff admitted it, he had no control. He would have lost control. We saved Los Angeles by having the military go in. And the second night was much better. The third night was nothing much. And the fourth night, nobody bothered even coming. We put out that fire, and we did a great job of it. He sued us for going in and for helping him. We went and helped him. Right now, you'd have Los Angeles burning to the ground. Largely, it would have already been destroyed.
We know how the president feels about Los Angeles and California in general. He, and along with J.D. Vance and most conservatives around the country, are disgusted at what California has become. And some people want to blame it on Ronald Reagan from many, many years ago. And some people blame it on Gavin Newsom. And I would say that I don't care who you blame it on. It's just a tragedy what has happened to this state. Now, let's go to our next story, which we're still staying with the president here, because during that gaggle, he also made a controversial statement, I would call it that, in regards to Tulsi Gabbard. So the controversy continues. Take a listen.
20 years ago, you were skeptical of a Republican administration that attacked a Middle East country on the idea of questionable intelligence of weapons of mass destruction. How is this moment different with Iran?
Well, there were no weapons of mass destruction. I never thought there were. And that was somewhat pre-nuclear. You know, there was a nuclear age, but nothing like it is today. And it looked like I'm right about the material that they've gathered already. It's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen. I was very much opposed to Iraq. I said it loud and clear, but I was a civilian, but I guess I got a lot of publicity. But I was very much opposed to the Iraq war. And I actually did say, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. But I said, if you're going to go in, keep the oil. But they didn't do that.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
All right, so that last comment by the president is what caught people's attention for good reason. Clearly, when you hear the president saying that his cabinet member is wrong, you want to know what's the disconnect here. Well, according to Tulsi Gabbard, everything's just fine. And it's the mainstream media that is making this into something that it's not. Here's what she said earlier today. The dishonest media is intentionally taking my testimony out of context and spreading fake news as a way to manufacture division. America has intelligence that Iran is at the point that it can produce a nuclear weapon within weeks to months if they decide to finalize the assembly. President Trump has been clear that can't happen, and I agree. And my only thing is, hey, I'll believe you, Tulsi, but why were you not invited to Camp David on June 8th when they convene on this matter of Israel and Iran? You should have been there. Why were you not invited? I'm just curious to know why that happened. Now, no matter what you think about this particular situation between Tulsi and the president, or how you feel about Israel and Iran, I think this next clip is necessary. Let's take a look at CNN, where they interviewed people in Iran and what their message is to President Trump. Take a listen.
Trump administration as well. Many of them were chanting death to America, were chanting death to Israel. We saw them burn American flags and burn Israeli flags. You will punch the United States and Israel in the mouth, he says. Trump, you are threatening my leader, this woman says. Don't you know my nation believes death is sweeter than honey? What do you have, Israel? He says. You have nothing. You are occupiers, unreligious. You're killing people, killing women. You kill everyone. You're terrorists. So you can see that anger here being voiced by many of the folks who are walking here in this protest, whereas the Iranian government has said that as long as the Israelis continue their bombing campaign of sites here in Iran, there will be Iranian missiles flying towards Israeli territory. They're calling on President Trump to try and end this direct confrontation. Otherwise, they say, there could be a direct military confrontation between Iran and the United States. The Iranians say it's not something they want, but they also say it's something that they're ready for.
Okay, so clearly they're not ready for an American military, okay? Let's just be honest about that. I don't care who you listen to. Even if you heard what Tucker Carlson said the other day, where the military is not prepared to go to war, I highly disagree with that, okay? But the fact remains that Iran has no chance against America, let alone a chance against America and Israel. We just, from a military context, okay? Now, of course, the backlash continues because people are still on the fence when it comes to President Trump and his decision making around this. You have people who support him and people who don't. And of course, the vice president did speak out on that very issue to set the record straight. Take a listen.
What the president said is so perfect about this. I think he gets to define America first because he's the person who ran, who was elected, and who actually leads this movement. And for all of the online chatter, what I see, and I've seen it very privately, of course, and I've seen it very publicly, the president is very focused on a core American national interest. And that national interest is the state of Iran should not have a nuclear weapon.
Okay, so that point that the vice president was making is a solid one. President Trump gets to decide what America first truly means because he's the one that was elected. I don't disagree with that. But I will add on to that and say it's also the people as well. Because at the end of the day, the president is executing the will of the people who put him in that office to begin with. So no matter how you feel about this entire situation, I think what Caitlin Bennett here said sums up what's actually happening here on the internet when it comes to people on the right, because what happens in real life is totally different than the internet. She said this: if the internet over the last few weeks has shown us anything, it's that the country isn't split between Republicans and Democrats. It's fractured so much more than that. And even if you take sides, each side has multiple sides divided against each other. Pray for our country. Okay, so that's just a phenomenal statement from Caitlin there. And I think it describes exactly what's been happening. And I do want to say this because this is more confusion that is being added to this entire debate. So Netanyahu is being reported that he claims that Israel does not need the help of America to take out Iran's nuclear facilities. Now, I know I'm not that stupid, but guys, they were just saying a week ago that they needed America's help to take out Iran's nuclear facilities. So which one is it? Or is this just another story to run propaganda to America? Who knows? But here's what the president had to say about that comment. Take a look.
Prime Minister Netanyahu said that they had the capacity to take out all of Iran's nuclear facilities. So what role would the U.S. be able to play, and why would they, if Israel says that they have all of the abilities, their own military?
I'm not sure he said that, but they really have a very limited capacity. They could break through a little section, but they can't go down very deep. They don't have that capacity, and we'll have to see what happens. Maybe it won't be necessary. Maybe it won't be necessary.
Now, the bottom line here, ladies and gentlemen, is the president's going to do what the president is going to do, okay? So what I find to be so funny is how Democrats are finding little things to complain about during this madness. Again, I'm a firm believer that no matter who you voted for, you should be rooting for the president to be successful. Well, in this next clip I'm going to show you, it's an example of what Democrats are more focused on. Take a look.
Amidst all of this, amidst a monumental decision to put military in harm's way, he calls a press conference about a flagpole on the South Lawn. If President Biden had done that, every right-wing media would be questioning his mental acuity. Now there's only one person whose mental acuity we should be questioning.
Are you for or against us keeping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon?
I'm absolutely against Iran getting a nuclear weapon.
Okay, so you agree with Donald Trump then?
I agree that we need to prevent a nuclear weapon from Iran happening, and I think that we need thoughtful leadership internally, not a Secretary of State who's moonlighting as a national security advisor.
So this is the government we have. This is the government the American people elected.
Do you feel confident that the intelligence 100%. Operation is working well right now inside 100%. The White House?
Yes, I think.
When the president is calling out his intelligence director, when there is no national security advisor.
Yeah, there is. Marco Rubio is national security advisor.
And Secretary of State. Do you think he's doing both jobs effectively?
I think he's the most effective cabinet member that we have. Right now, this White House is clear-eyed about the threat. They are as close to Israel as you can be.
Clear-eyed would not mean that he is building flagpoles in the middle of this, going golfing and whiffing on a shot.
You're obsessed with this flagpole issue. What you should be obsessed with
because I'm obsessed
is the fact that we're on the brink here of remaking the Middle East and making Western civilization safe and protecting our special ally, Israel. That's what you should be worried about.
I'm obsessed with a president making sure the military is not put in harm's way. And I am also obsessed that when they come back, there isn't a VA with 83,000 cuts that he's also proposed.
Okay, so more political theater for you there, right? There's a side of this country who truly believes every single thing that Democrat just said. And that is really the sad thing about all of this. Again, we should be supporting the president and being successful with whatever decision he makes. Now, I don't believe he will put boots on the ground because I don't think it really requires that. But as I keep saying, only time will tell. So now we can get to what you guys think about all of this in the comment section below, starting with JD Vance and his comment about Senator Alex Padilla when he called him Jose, then seeing the reaction from the governor and Mayor Karen Bass, who clearly did not like it. but I think they're taking advantage of the moment to score political points. And then the big update from President Trump, what he thinks about Iran, including this whole Tulsi Gabbard situation. How do you see it? Do you think there is a rift or not? Give me all of your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, since we talked about Gavin Newsom in this video, it's only fitting that I tell you in this next video you're going to want to check out, it's about Gavin Newsom as well. He suffered a major legal setback after a federal appeals court ruled in favor of President Trump to maintain control over the National Guard. So if you missed out on that story and more from earlier today, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.